All right, good.
Welcome to The Music Reel. I'm your host, Nicola Burton. I'm very excited about my guest tonight. He is based in Copenhagen. He's been a global marketing manager for many, many years across Europe and Britain. But the most important thing is he's one of my favorite people in the world. This is my cousin, Brendan Williams. How are you today, Brendan?
Hi, Nikki. I'm well. How are you?
I'm very happy to see you. Particularly, you're on the other side of the world, and I really am curious to see how you've gone this year. Now, as an Aussie expat, let's just start there. What was it like for you in lockdown in Europe, being so far away from home, working from home with two little kids? Give me the whole lockdown story, dude.
Where do I begin? Well, the first thing I'd say is lockdown for me, in terms of kids and work, was actually really good. I was in a really busy period of my life, and there were so many meetings at work that it was really getting really hard to get the actual work done. So when lockdown came in, for me, it was a breath of fresh air. It was like, great, I can finally focus on getting some work done. So professionally, it was really good, and we just kitted out one of our spare rooms, and I turned it into my home office, and that went pretty well. I sort of wonder how long people will be effective working from home without being around other people, because Denmark has had one lockdown, we went back to work, and now another lockdown has come in. So there's been voluntary lockdowns by different companies. So we're in the second phase of it, and I know from my friends and colleagues that actually the second time round is much harder than the first time round, because no one knew how to do it the first time, and it was kind of fun working it out. With kids, it's interesting. The kids were around the house a lot. We were all in lockdown together. Everyone's become far more accepting of kids walking into the screen when you're doing video calls. I had my kids on my lap a lot of the times, and it's become a bit of a hilarious interruption. And on the plus side, I think it's great to get to know your colleagues, families, and households, and sit there judging the backgrounds on their video calls and things like that. So that's all been good. But it's a serious thing. We're in the second wave in Europe now. We're heading into winter, so there's local lockdowns in force in Denmark, and UK is actually my home base, and now they're now introducing a 3-tier system in the UK, and there's really significant lockdowns there. Yesterday, unfortunately, 241 people died in the UK from corona, and so that's it's scary because it's going up so quickly at a really bad time of year. This is flu season, and flu season with the cold and the damp in the UK is really a lot more significant than it is in Australia. So, fingers crossed that people get a grip on it, and and the lockdowns are able to manage it. So there's a lot more restrictions coming in now, and this is a really long answer because there's so many things you asked me.
No.
Being away from family, So as you know, I'm the father of two small kids. They're 4 and 6, and which has been fantastic. But it's actually meant that when they've been younger, we've been really reluctant to fly back to Australia because it's 24 hours on the plane.
Brutal.
And my kids for so many years, they can't even sit still for 5 minutes, let alone 24 hours on a plane. So we've just gone, that is well beyond us. It's too much. We're not going back to Australia. And so I hadn't been back for 5 years. And until late last year, I went back for a month and saw family and friends. And 5 years is a really long time. Everyone's a bit older. Things have happened. I've not been there, and I really felt it last time I went back. So I said to Kath and my family, I'm now going to go back once a year to Australia. I have to go back. So we're going to go back for Christmas this year. And so it wasn't necessarily lockdown that made me really miss my family. It's now that we're going into the second lockdown. It's been a really crazy 2020. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to get back for, I mean, no, we're not actually. There's no way we can get back to Australia. And in fact, 2021, it's not going to happen, is it? No.
No, it's not going to happen.
So, no. So that makes me feel quite a long way from home. And, do you know, I'd love to come back as soon as possible. And, but, you know, we just have to work with what we've got. But,
exactly.
you know, I just think it's more important to just keep in contact. You know, technology is so good. Like, I mean, we're doing this interview now, but technology's so good like this that we can keep in contact really easily. But you know, nothing replaces a hug and saying hello to people face to face.
Exactly. I didn't know you guys were in a second lockdown, Brendan. That's a bit scary. I knew that the UK was going into something quite brutal. So can I just go back a little bit to your summer? When I think of Europe, you've got your music festivals, you've got your bars overflowing with people, you've got your live music happening. Did that happen last summer for you?
No. All music festivals in Europe were cancelled. I mean, from Glastonbury to Parklife to Southwest 4, all the big UK festivals, you know, Reading Festival, everything's been cancelled. You know, all the big European festivals like Ziget, you know, anything you can think of has been cancelled. So there were restrictions. Basically, when lockdown finished, it was, I guess, around June. They then said that to ease it off, to ease people back into regular life, they then said, well, you can meet with 6 people, and then it was 10 people, 50, and so it went on like that. But public events such as sport, so Europe is football, soccer mad, right? Yeah. And so all sports been cancelled. So there's been no Champions League or Premier League played. But all those festivals, in particular Glastonbury, which I think was going to be the 50th anniversary this year. And, you know, if you look at a lot of the lineups that they had in festivals, big names, I mean, you know, it was going to be a cracking summer, and it was all cancelled.
Wow.
It's had a massive impact. Yeah. So, yeah. So really big. And actually in the UK, the government made a decision about 6 weeks later than the rest of the continental European governments. And actually that delay made the spike of infections really high in the UK. So the impact there has been really quite bad. But actually, so they locked down, but what's been going on in the UK in the music scene is really interesting. So back in the 90s, you know, illegal raves used to be a big thing, right? So people would go into warehouses, you know, the DJs had set up, there'd be no permits, nothing like that. So, and those things they got lost because, you know, there was a huge EDM scene in the UK. It went into clubs, it went into festivals, you know, in a pretty similar way to Australia. You know, there became a more formal way of getting into those sort of events. And then lockdown came, and all of those festivals were cancelled, and then the illegal raves started popping up again. But the problem with that is it was during the height of lockdown, and then all the infection rates started going up again. And then young people, you know, like got demonized, so 16 to 30-year-olds got demonized for pushing back up the COVID infection rates. And if you just followed the UK news, it was really bad. And you know, all the musos are having, I don't know the exact numbers, but they're all having obviously a very tough time, as you mentioned before that we started the interview about some of the numbers in Australia. I imagine it's something very similar in the UK. I know in Denmark I've got musician friends who are really struggling to find any work at all. And in fact, some of the sort of semi-professional guys who have other jobs are going, you know, I'm not going to take any jobs because my professional friends need that, and they're just, you know, everyone's helping each other out.
Wow.
When the pubs came back online, yeah.
So your pubs came back online when?
On.
July, August?
Yeah, in July, and people have been finding other ways to catch up for a drink. Been a lot of outdoor drinking. People going to parks, picnics. Being socially distant, because there was a 2-meter rule here. But you would see as the lockdown finished, people would find different ways of getting back together. But the desire to hang out with friends is huge. But pubs did come back online, but then infection rates have gone up as well.
Bloody hell.
So it's been really difficult.
Thank you for giving me that update, because it's so different to how it is in Australia. So you're facing 6 months of cold weather. We're facing 6 months of hot weather. So it's almost like if you're going to be somewhere in Australia right now, because at least we've got 6 good months where the flu rates will be much lower. But, given that we can have a couple of soloists playing in a pub, but 60 to 100 people only, obviously it's 4-1. I think it's 4 meters around them. But like I said before, $6,000 fine if you get caught dancing. So that's the venue that's got to pay it. So it's a 10% capacity where we're at now. So look, you as a global marketing manager, you understand trends and cycles, right? What are your thoughts for hospitality and music? Are they actually going to get out the other side of this, or is this going to just smash them?
Well, I think it's a great question. I think there's obviously an immediate impact. Anyone who doesn't have the resources to survive a period of time is going to be hit hugely by this. That includes musicians and pubs. There's a lot of pub closures in the UK. I'm just going to use the UK as an example, because that's the biggest and most similar market country to Australia. Yes, life will get back to normal. I'm really confident about that, and I think that when the threat of infections diminishes, we will bounce back in a bigger and better way. And in fact, I think that the world of pubs and entertainment and hospitality will have a bounce back. There will be people will be going out more, because I think what this has done is really reinforced to people how important hospitality is, how important things like music and entertainment are, and what maybe we've taken it a little bit for granted. What I do think is going to happen is people will become much more aware of health and wellness and space between them. I don't think the pub scene, for example, pub music scene, will ever sort of just be pack them into sweaty small rooms. There'll be much more sense of health and wellness and ventilation, and people will, people I think will just naturally have a sense of personal space and things like that. I think it's going to be a long time before, and I think face masks are here to stay. And I think, on the street, it's now we've broken through the weirdness of people wearing face masks. I think if people are concerned, or if it's a cold weather, or you're on a bus, I think we'll see those things, or indeed in a pub. Mind you, in a pub, it is the rule in Denmark now. Even though we're going back to work from home and things like that, actually you can still go to pubs. If you're standing up, you must wear a face mask, but if you sit down, you can take it off, which actually seems to work. So it's basically you can't walk around spreading coronavirus, but if you're sitting down, you can spread it to the people on the table.
Makes so much sense.
So look, I think a few things. I think things like food and beverage will become slightly more healthy as well. I think people are really, I've worked in the beer industry and the alcohol industry for a long time. There is a huge shift to alcohol-free beers, or low-strength beers, and other healthy adult drinks. Because actually for so many years all we've had to choose from is soft drinks and so forth. I think those sort of things will take off. And then as I mentioned, I think the we'll bounce back in a really healthy way, but it's probably going to take some time.
No, that is a good answer, Brendan, because it's actually giving up people a little bit of optimism. And I think that mental health wise, people are going to need to hold on to that optimism, that shiny light at the end of the tunnel, to go, look, no matter whatever we need to do to get through this, we'll get through it. We just have to get out the other side of it. Then we'll be able to, like you said, bounce back. So finally, if you were going to be anywhere right now, which country do you think is handling it the best across the planet?
I think New Zealand. I think Jacinda Ardern has done a fabulous job. I don't know what the perception of her is in Australia. I've seen some interviews where there's some criticism of her from Australia. I wonder if that's the Australia versus New Zealand thing. The New Zealand government made like Denmark. Denmark has handled it very well also. And the common things between New Zealand and Denmark, they made decisions, very firm decisions that affected everyone consistently. They made them fast. They were easy to understand. They were for a set period, so you knew when they were going to finish. They shared the facts very frequently with people, so you understood what was happening when and why. You understood all of those sort of things. By contrast, if I look at the UK, they've changed the rules every week. They don't, even the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, doesn't remember his own rules. And so people, and literally they have slogans every other week. So, you know, people are going, well, we don't understand what we're meant to be doing. And now there's 3 tiers. There's differences about mixing with your own household or with other households. And it's so convoluted and complex that it's just very, very difficult. And they reacted 6 weeks too late. Now, I think New Zealand has done a really good job on that. And it's not, and what I've learned, because I've been looking at this very closely as a marketing person, it's got nothing to do with the size of your population. It's literally how fast and quickly, how fast you'll make the decisions and how easy they are to understand for the population. So, you know, Jacinda's got a lot of good press over here, by the way. She's seen as a really strong leader, and you know, she's sort of making Australia, New Zealand proud, I hope.
Oh, no, look, we all feel the same way. It's almost like she's created this blueprint for the kind of leader we all want in the future. And I think that she actually is leading the way. And I didn't know that Denmark was right up there as well too. I'll have to have a look into that. I mean, lucky you're living there then. Much better than the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Denmark isn't free of COVID for sure. I mean, we're at the per 100,000 rates here are 100. UK's at almost 400 now. They don't, they won't totally ease restrictions until it's like 20 cases per 100,000. So, you know, Denmark does have issues, but I found it incredibly easy to follow all the rules here, and they've been really well communicated. And I just look at what's going on in the UK, because we get the UK's news here, and it's a complete mess over there.
Wow. Well, Brendan, it was so great to hear your thoughts. I really appreciate you taking the time. It was so good to see you. But I think to hear your perspective on what it's like in Europe and the UK is great for us Australians in our industry to hear. Gives us a little bit of hope, gives us a little bit of perspective. Brendan Williams, thank you for adding your voice today.
Thanks, Nikki.